Hey, welcome to the Tech Capital World, Kernersville, North Carolina. My name is Bobby Davis, and I'm here joined by Kevin Doyle, the greatest soccer fan on the planet,
Hey,
or should I
well,
say
am I?
football? Yeah,
My team did win yesterday. England
your
won one
team. You can't.
nil.
You
They
do
beat
you want to say
Poland.
your team now? Is that
Oh
like
no, no,
common
hold on, no,
knowledge?
no, no. My international team won yesterday. England beat Poland yesterday. So
Okay,
sorry, Poland.
his
Oh,
club team is secret. We don't want
well,
to
I
tell
say
people.
like we ended up drawing 1-1, which is a win. It was an away game, um,
Okay,
so it was good. It's an extra point. It should put us through the World Cup, so that's good.
yeah.
So it's good stuff.
USA is probably not going to get there. We'll see.
We'll see. They should. I think they play again today.
Okay,
I think they play tonight.
cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. So we thought we'd switch stuff up a little bit today. We're going to do
Yeah.
a not just Q&A, which we will get to eventually, but we'll spend the first little bit here talking about some job search tips.
I think so, and I think these are really going to help people. I'm just getting the chat up here so I can see if anyone's going to chat in.
Yeah, so
But
we
yeah, I think it's going to help. I think it's going to help a lot of people. The more and more I interact with people on social media and as I interview people, I continually see these mistakes over and over and over again. And apparently, the things we teach in the boot camp they're just not common knowledge, and we think they should be.
right.
So if you know this, I don't want to think you're stupid. I guess we know the secret to like understanding things, or that the people that do this just do these kind of things instinctively,
Right.
and they're
And
not
it,
trained. It just comes to them naturally for whatever
yeah.
reason. For most of us, we need to be taught like how we should do this because they just work. I mean, like
Yeah.
I don't and
Yeah.
I think our advice comes from experience. So like a lot of
Exactly. I
times,
think we've seen enough of
yeah,
it. And I think a lot of
yeah,
ours, it's like once you've lived with them for a minute, or even the first time you're hearing them, sometimes you're just like, well, duh. But like you said, people don't do it. It's kind of,
they still don't do it when they
yeah,
say
it
duh.
feels very, and that's, to me, that's a sign of a good tip in this area, is when
Yeah,
your response is just like, well, of course that works. Like,
right.
yeah, but then you got to do it. Like, that's the sign of a good tip for me. I think these fit that
Yeah.
criteria.
So a lot of these come from my experiences trying to sell stuff. So like when you try to sell anything, there are tried and true methods to doing something to make sure you can sell stuff. It's just not automatic. When you meet a good salesperson, it's not because they lie to every customer they meet. Like that's not what it
Right.
is.
Right.
There are some techniques that you can learn, and I think the same holds true when you're trying to push yourself into a company or win a consulting gig or a freelance gig or whatever it is. There are some sales things, and it doesn't mean that I win every time. I just know that when I lose, I always look at why I lose, and like,
Right.
and every
Right.
single time I can go, yeah, that's why we lost that one.
Yeah, that makes
Or when a
sense.
student doesn't win an interview, I can really look at their process and look at their stuff and go, yeah, that's why. In fact, I had
Yep.
a student get turned down this week, and I know why. I'm going to go back and talk to that student, and I'm going to tell them this is what happened, and they don't have. And then the customer didn't tell me this. After reviewing like what their feedback was, and then I went back and looked at the portfolio. I'm like, okay, this is what happened.
Yeah, like that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like
Yep.
it doesn't mean that they didn't have the skill or they couldn't do the job. It's just that they didn't even get the chance to interview. And I always call that. I've said this a lot. There's a lot of soft nose out there, a
Yep.
lot of ghosting that goes
Yep.
on that happens, and it's because that we continually do the same things over and over again.
Yep. And it's actually funny you say that too, because somebody asked on Discord in the last few days, like they put a post out there on our Discord channel, which if you're not a member, go join. Links down below.
Yeah.
They put a post out there saying like, "Hey, I've applied for a bunch of jobs and I keep getting ghosted. Basically, like nobody ever answers me
Yeah.
back." So my question to them was, "Well, let me take a look at your portfolio." And guess what the answer was?
I don't have one.
I don't have one. I'm working on it. That's exactly the answer. And I was like, well, you've kind of answered your own question. I can tell you exactly why. I don't have to
Right.
get to the point where I have to tell you like there's something wrong with your portfolio or that
Right.
you don't have one. So it's and
Yeah.
you're changing careers and it's like you're trying to break in without being able to prove that you can actually do it. So there you go. You've answered your own question really.
hmm
Yeah.
I do think, and so like we're adding these tips to our self-paced course, and we're here on YouTube Live, so we're gonna give you the highlights, There's a lot
Yeah.
more to this, man.
Oh yeah, we
Like
thought we'd
we
choose
were
just
talking about it. Like there's just so much more to this.
yeah.
Understanding like, and then the cool part about this, I think when you see these tips, you may be doing like one or two of them, and you're not doing them all. So I don't want anyone to think I'm stupid. I'm only, but like think about taking one of these and then you may be doing one sort of okay. The
Right.
problem with breaking in is you got to hit them all on the head and you just got to knock them out of the park. That's
And there
just
may be
kinda how it
something you
works.
just haven't thought about.
You just haven't thought about. Okay.
Yep.
So here's our number one. And I think you've got an example. Number one is putting a process around your search. So if you've never sold anything in your life inside of a sales organization, there's always a thing called a CRM or a customer relationship management system. And this is basically where I'm recording the contact information and the history of my contact with this customer. So if you're calling on, and I've seen people say, I've submitted 600 resumes.
Yeah.
And you're
People have
tracking
come here
that
and said
with,
that.
yeah, and you're tracking that with your brain. You've probably missed out on, I would say, 300 to 400 opportunities.
Yeah.
There's no way you remembered all 600 that you pushed in.
Yep.
So
you need a follow-up game.
You need a follow-up game. You need a process to trigger your memory on what to do. So the easy way to do this is something called a Trello board. And I think, Kevin, we have one. We just looked it up this morning.
Yep.
We actually may build one in the future that's more useful than this one. But like in general,
it can be any kind of can board. We just like Trello.
Yeah, any kind of can board. But in general, he's tracking, this person has his public board and he's tracking who he's applied with the recruiter. He's also saved some jobs that he's interested in.
Yep.
But so what you need to do is track all your applications, every single one of them. And I would say on this board, you need all the contact information there. So if we click on an individual item here,
I don't know
he's
what
probably
he's
not doing it that great. But
yeah. There's some notes in here, but not the actual the person.
Yeah. So like you need the person, the name, the phone number, who you're talking to. And then
I would actually have that over here, right? I would be researching.
Exactly.
When you're actually saving them, I'd be looking at the job and then recording that stuff here. I'd be putting their LinkedIn profile, their phone number, their email address, whatever I could gather about them over here in this. So when you move to this point, you kind of know where you're at.
Yeah, exactly. And so like, and then once you've applied, you need to follow up with that application. So this one needs a follow-up game.
Yeah, follow-up,
which he doesn't have. I think it's sort of in the apply one where it's built in there.
I think it probably is, but he has a
visible.
dead column. His dead column probably shouldn't be called, he called it dead, but his dead column should probably be called follow-up.
Yeah.
Even
and
if he didn't get it.
Yeah, one of my rules in sales, Kevin, is like we work an item until we get one of two answers, which is a yes or a no. The maybe or the ghosted just means you're going to get emailed from me again. So the more you ghost me, the more emails you get. And then a lot of times, the more you get ghosted, the more automated the emails become.
Right.
And so if you ever, believe me this, if you ever wanted to get rid of spam from a salesperson, just tell them no. And then what happens is they put it in the dead column and suddenly you don't get emails anymore, because it's a waste of my resource and my time. So you need to follow up with them until you get a yes or a no, or until you know that job is closed, but it's persistent, but it's not rude either, So you need to develop some really good prospecting emails around like, hey, I saw you had this opening. I was really interested in it. Here's a copy of my portfolio on my LinkedIn. You'll see that my kind of the stuff I'm putting together lines up with what you're looking for. Do you think it's worth us for a conversation? And this is the magic to this, Kevin. What you say is, and in sales, you always give your customer the permission to say no. And you say, if I'm not a fit, just please let me know. And then I can move on in my job search. I realize that you're super busy. Thanks. And no is an okay answer if we can't work together now.
Yep.
Typically you'll get a response. No, you're not a fit, but this is why. And you get a conversation, which is good. Right. Anytime you get a conversation, it can always turn into a yes.
It always change. Exactly. Exactly.
The second thing is they may say yes. And then, but if you don't follow up, you can't do it. Now, follow up also means, and then if you're listening here on the YouTube channel, write this down. Follow up means I need to follow up with the HR, and maybe I need to find some people on LinkedIn and Twitter that are also in the hiring position, but they may not be the necessarily gatekeeper, but the decision maker. And so you want to message those people directly as well. you know?
Yep.
And people say, no, they're going to hate me and not hire me. They're not hiring you anyway.
Exactly. You literally have nothing to lose.
You have nothing at all to lose unless you're rude or mean or like, unless you insinuate they're a bad person for not hiring you.
Right.
You know, that's what can get you in trouble. But if you're gracious and nice and easy to work with, you may not get this one, but you may get the next one. All right. So use a Trello board to track your process from I've applied, my follow-up, my phone interviews, my tech interviews, and then try to work into a yes to no so you can make a dead to me list and the ones I'm pursuing.
Yep.
So I think if you do that, you put a process around it, you're going to be way more successul.
Yep. And do whatever works for you in terms of those like columns and the design as well. Like some things are just going to work better for you. And also, like Robbie says, you need to if you're not doing any kind of follow-up now, this is really just going to help you with that. Because it's going to, because like you said before, we've had people here that have said, like, I did 600 applications. Yeah, but you didn't follow up with a single one of them.
Yeah.
Like that follow-up game is everything.
I'm looking for a .NET MVC developer right now, and I'm messaging the customer. I hope they're not watching. I've sent them 8 emails in the last 4 days.
Okay.
Asking them like feedback, what I'm getting. And I got feedback on one. I got one, a no, and I'm like, okay. And my no is immediately, well, what about this other guy? You know, like I'm thinking he's a great fit, you know, and so I'm still trying to get feedback from him. So like, I think that is the follow-up game. If you leave them alone, trust me, the other people are in there interviewing.
There's other people following up.
Are following up. I guarantee it, man. I guarantee it, man.
Yep.
You know, it's just between eating and not eating. When it's that choice, you'll follow up. Don't be afraid. Be brave about your follow-up game. So anyway,
there you go. Tip number 1. What's tip number 2? This seems like a duh, but I love this one.
So I got this one right here, and don't laugh at me. I have my logo on my book. I do, and it has a little thing on there. Never tell me the odds, which is my favorite Han Solo quote, which comes from the movie Solo. But like, you know, like I have a book and I carry this book. You've seen me. I probably have 20 of these books I carry around everywhere I go. But in an interview, I think you need a journal or a spiral notebook or something like that you take with you. And here's your clue. Write down every question they ask. Okay? Every single one of them. The reason, especially the technical ones, but even the softball ones, write down every question they can. And take notes, detailed notes on the interview process. And then if you fail, you can go back and look at those questions to figure out which question you missed. And then don't miss that question again. And then keeping these detailed logs of interview questions until eventually what I've come to believe is that there's a groupthink among interviewers, and it goes through phases. You know, like 2 years ago, we were in like, oh, you're going to get a whiteboard every single time. Now we don't see those as much because people complain till like cows come home.
Right.
You know, but there's also, if you're interviewing for a particular stack, and you go Google the top 30 ASP.NET C# interview questions, I bet you there's a 90% chance that you're going to get one of those questions off that list because that's what they did.
Yeah.
They
don't have the time to develop their own like.
They don't, you know, especially if you're interviewing with devs. Yeah. And so like, I think if you do that and keep up with all the questions, and then go back through the effort of answering them to yourself. And here's my super secret tick for this, which is going to go along with the whiteboard one. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
But if you miss an interview question, I would send them an email back the next day and say, you know, on further review, I was thinking about what you asked me about the yield keyword, you know, and write them up a little sample and send it back to them. And this is I don't know, I was nervous or I just mind blanked, or everyone does that. Just come up with an excuse, but send them the answer back. And that's why you write them down, because like I've had so many interviewers come back from a Co-Founder interview, and I'll ask them, what'd they ask you? And they'll go, I don't know. I just did bad.
I don't know. Exactly.
What did they ask you, man? Like, how do you know you did bad? You know, and so like, so do your interview recon during the interview process, because it's going to help you for the next one or the next one after that.
I would also say that notebook has another fringe benefit too.
Yeah.
You're showing up to an interview with an artifact, which always looks good, versus just showing up like twiddling your thumbs. You have something to kind of hold on to, and something like it shows some level of preparedness. You're showing up with a pen and paper. That's a good thing. You can also use that notebook to have your questions written in too that you have for them. You can kind of use that as a reminder. You don't necessarily want to read them off. When it comes to that kind of portion of the interview, you can kind of be like, yeah, I had some questions. You can kind of just, have a quick look. Be like, yeah. So here's my question. Yeah. So it serves that purpose too. So it's win-win-win to have a notebook. Take a notebook for an interview.
Okay. There's a lot of questions pouring in. Right? You guys have a lot of good questions. I see them coming in. We'll get to them in a second.
We will. What you got for number 3?
Number 3 is if you're in the interview, you've got to demo. I mean, especially for technical people, you have to demo. If a salesperson is selling Salesforce to the organization, they get an interview or a meeting or a sales meeting with the higher ups, you bet your bottom dollar they're demoing Salesforce to them, or they're demoing Teams, or they're demoing whatever. So why in the world would you walk into an interview and not demo projects you've built? It's mind-boggling to me. So which means you gotta have a portfolio and you gotta have projects, which is what we say every single day here on the channel. But if you have something to show, an artifact to show, please show that. I've heard a few cranky people on Twitter and YouTube for us say, I would never look at someone's project. I'm convinced they're not hiring managers. Number B, I don't think they're in the technical industry at all, because I can't imagine. I don't care if you're at Google, Microsoft, or Facebook, or just a random hardware company down the street. If someone walks in with code they wrote and it's working and it's functional, they'll want to look at it. I mean, they just will. And if you meet a guy or a person that doesn't want to look at your code because, their 10 interview questions are way more important than anything you've built, then try to answer the interview questions, move on with your day. But you've got to at least ask to interview and ask to demo, and then get them to look at it, get them to look at your code. Because if you can demo code and you get them talking about your code, you've turned that closed book test into an open book test, which means that now, hey, you know what? They're going to ask me about like entity framework, and I can direct them to like a line of code, and I'm just looking at it. It's like Googling, it's like, it's easy. It makes it a whole lot easier. And so people that have done this have come back and told me, I got turned down 5 times, and I've told several people, and I finally got the courage to demo and I got a job. I'm like, I know. I mean, I don't know why this is like controversial topic, Kevin. I don't understand. Like, it just makes all.
I don't either, but some people just want to rebel against it for some strange reason.
Yeah, and we've talked about your interview process, which is kind of like when you interviewed here. You actually, and it was just, you just happened to have the video that lined up. We talked about the Stack Matters. Yeah. But I was trying to build commercials at the time for the Bootcamp, so I interviewed you, and you happened to have
my demo was so aligned, it just fit.
Education. It's kind of funny. But that works. It works. All right, cool.
There you go. So demo your project. What's number 4?
Number 4 is if you get a coding challenge, or you're asked, let's say that you go into the interview and they say, all right, they put a laptop in front of you and they say, you've got 45 minutes to solve this. Or they ask you to whiteboard something, and it could be, tell me how to, sort a binary tree or something crazy like that. And you have no idea how to do it, and you bomb it totally. A, write the question down in the notebook that you brought, and B, within 24 hours, send them a sample back after the interview.
We have seen this work firsthand.
Seen it work. 100%.
We know 100% this works.
Yeah. And so, and then because I believe, and I talk to customers about this a lot when they do this with students, and I'll give them a little bit of feedback on the interview process without being rude. I'm like, but asking someone to write chess in an hour is crazy. Like, it's like, and I told them, I said, I couldn't write chess in an hour. And they're like, well, I guess you wouldn't work here. I'm like, I guess I wouldn't. I mean, but like, that's insane. I mean, like,
it's not a real world scenario. That's not what's going to happen on the job, is it?
Understand.
If that is what's going to happen on the job, then you probably don't want that job.
Yeah. And he's saying, well, I just want to see how they think. I'm like, well, why are we asking them to write something that clearly, people spend lots of time to build supercomputers around them to beat the chess masters of the world? Right. We're asking them, it's a complex problem, man. I mean, and I asked them, I said, why don't you sit down and write chess without notes and tell us, and that's how you should test your interview process. If it takes you 4 or 5 days, it's probably,
and it will.
Yeah, it's
more complex than you
probably
think
too
it is.
hard. Which means like, you're not really testing whether that. I mean, unless you're writing chess for a living, I mean, I get it, but like if you're not writing
Right.
chess for the company, what's the point?
Yeah.
So I think, but even if you get these crazy ones, try to turn around in a 24-hour period, send it back to them, and I think that's usually it works very well.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Definitely.
All right.
Definitely.
Cool.
Okay, number 5. We talked about this one the other day, actually.
Yeah. So I want to reiterate this: is when you get out of an interview, send them a note to hiring manager and all the people that you come in contact with. Which means that if you sit in a round of, if you're in a group, try to get everyone's business card or email address, and say, "Can I email you later?" And just to get, whatever. And
the easiest ask is for the business cards. They'll generally have business cards.
Yep, cards. Which means that you probably should have a business card. But like, if you don't, that's okay. But like, I have one with just my name on it.
Yep.
And it's epic, by the way.
They're
Kevin
fairly
made it.
cheap enough. They're fairly cheap enough to get now too. If you don't go for the crazy ones that come from all the way across the ocean like yours do,
right.
But you can go to Staples and get them, and they're fairly cheap. They'll do most of the design work even too. Just put your name, your email address, and your phone number on it, and that's it. It doesn't have to be anything else.
Yeah, and I would say this, and this is the way mine's a little bit more fancier than that, but like mine initially came from watching Ocean's 11 and the Danny Ocean business card. I like that. That's like epic. Just the
feels
name
high
on the front.
end.
Yeah. But it's just a white card with the name on the front. He probably got his at Staples, but it looks so cool. It was like
his doesn't even have contact details on it, does it? It just has his name on it.
So I advise you to at least put your email on it, like something like that. But the minimalist approach is very cool. Just on a white card, black type in the middle, and just set it in the middle and be done with it.
Totally works.
So I think that works, and you can get those for cents, pennies.
Oh yeah, they are. They're pennies. Yeah.
Per thing.
Yep.
But I would send a note after the interview. Even if you get rejected, congratulate them on selecting a successful team member, and thank them for the time and interview, and ask them if it'd be mind if we stay in touch in case something else arises out of that. What I've seen happen here is sometimes they extend an offer, that person turns the offer down, and then you were number 2, and because you were gracious, you get an offer, and that happens sometimes. Second thing that can happen is, and you got to think long term. Salespeople think in the long term, is that hiring manager or that tech lead may move to a different company, and then they're in for a need. And then, man, I remember interviewing that guy. He was so cool, sent me that note back, and then he reaches out to you independently, and you get that other offer down the road. And so, like, it's this long term game that you play in order to win ultimately. So send a note back, be nice when you get rejected, and thank them for their time, and then build friendships, build relationships, and build a network that may reach out to you in the future. All right, cool. And our last one, I think, Kevin, number 6. Did we have that one?
Yep. What's your last one?
All right. So trying to get an interview is kind of hard sometimes. If you're working with a recruiter, it makes it way easier. And also, having said that, resist the urge to just bash recruiters over the head on LinkedIn and Twitter. I mean, like, just don't do that. Like,
it's never going to work out for you.
It's so stupid. I read a whole recruiting thread this morning on Twitter, and the guy was just complaining, all recruiters care about is the stack on my resume and keywords, and they don't know me as a human. And I'm like, no, they don't know you as a human. All they have to look at is the resume. Like, so make sure that you have play the game. Make sure they can pass the keyword test. Those kind of things.
Right.
But you destroying recruiting in the industry doesn't mean that they're not going to reach out to you. Okay, you don't want to talk to me anyway, so don't be grumpy coder guy. But if you're trying to get into a position, message them directly via LinkedIn with an in message or Twitter. So follow them and interact with them nicely, and then message them directly. I would advise, and you can write this down if you want, something like this in an in message with LinkedIn. Say, hey, I noticed the job post you had, and here's a copy of my portfolio and my resume. I know you don't normally get reached this way, but I just think that I'm a great fit. And if there's any way I could stand out from the pile that you're already getting, hopefully this can lead to a conversation. Do you think I'm worth talking to? Yes or no? And you'll get back an answer. And if they ghost you, that's fine. but you tried. At least now they know who you are.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and LinkedIn is probably a good place to do it. But Twitter is too, but not everyone.
Definitely, it's like it's expected, isn't it? It's literally the job of the platform. Like you're meant to make connections, and you're meant to connect past the connection. The connection on LinkedIn is just kind of the first thing. It's supposed to spur an actual connection, a discussion. Maybe you have a phone call from something on LinkedIn or something else. It's just that's just the first part of it. That's literally what it's designed for. So
that's our 6 tips for the day, man. Hopefully it'll help you in your job search a little bit.
I have one bonus one that we're going to talk about in way more detail at another point too.
Okay.
and it is resume. So there are literally a million resume tips, right? There's a million of them. But the one that I want to talk about just today really quickly is you need to have a 1 or 2 page resume. Yeah. Don't submit a 19 or 20 page resume. And you think I joke.
Yeah. I got one today.
There you go. I mean, and I've seen some over the past years here doing resume reviews and stuff from people. And I rebrand some resumes and those kind of things. And I've seen some really, really long resumes. Pointless, man. It shows you have a weakness that you don't know how to curate your own history even.
Right,
you don't know what's important, and the person sees that. Right. And we talked about this, but you don't get past the first page. You just don't. Your first page better be killer if you have a 20-page resume, and it better summarize everything perfectly because they're not going to read past it. Right. Page 2 through 19 are useless.
Yep.
So,
and I think I can get mine down to 1, and I've worked in a billion places over the years, and in the last 20 years, the last 20 years I've been working for myself. But even then, I'll see people list every single project. It's just like,
yeah. Well, that's one of the things. It's like,
okay.
Exactly. If you go all the way back to I had a high school job, I worked at the supermarket, but you're like 10 other jobs deep. You don't need to list that high school job, man. It doesn't matter. If it's irrelevant, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, my career is irrelevant. Like I did VB6, whoop-de-doo. I did Power Builder, whoop-de-doo. I did Delphi, no one cares.
Yep.
I've done .NET and .NET 6. Okay, I care about that. So you've got to understand that. In the tech industry, they care about what you did last week, not what you did 20 years ago. It's very, very few times is that relevant. Now, you can say I have 20 years experience at the top of your resume to show the highlights of the things you're working on right now.
Exactly.
That's what matters.
That is exactly the way to do it. If you have 20 years experience, you literally write down 20 years industry experience as a web developer or whatever it is that you're doing. That's how you highlight it. They can see it from that one statement versus digging through this 19 other pages to be like, oh, I see, he has 20 years of experience. That doesn't mean anything.
Exactly.
Look what N17 Hero says here. Look, don't ever do that. I immediately put those aside when considering people for interviews. So you don't even read it. You just see a long resume and you're like, well, that's it. And I think that does happen. I genuinely believe that happens. People will just be like, well, this person clearly cannot prioritize what they need to put on their resume. They're not going to be a good fit. They probably don't even read the first page.
In my resume thread that I was in, I was like, one guy says, what I like to do is put all my resume on one page, but I do it at 5.5 point font so they can.
That's not the answer either.
Like, they can't read it, moron. I mean, so this has to be a design document too. Like, make it attractive. People think that that it shouldn't look good. And so if you send me your resume, which I've literally got these two written in Notepad, I don't care what's on it.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yep. Well, think about it too, especially in this industry, right? Generally, so unless you're going for strictly back end stuff, you're as a web developer, you expect it to have some kind of design aesthetic. You're literally putting the face on a website. If you can't at least design a resume, and I'm not talking about design it in terms of make it flashy and have all this extra. I'm talking about just lay out a document. We're talking about the hierarchy of headers and paragraphs, right? I mean, it's not rocket science.
It's not like you can't go buy 10,000 Word templates either.
Get a template. Exactly. That's the other thing too. Use a template. Don't be afraid to use a template for a resume.
Yeah. If you've got 20 years experience and you're going for senior level jobs, you know what else you probably have? You probably have a little bit of side money, in the bank, and you could pay a Kevin, hey man, rock my resume out for me.
Exactly.
Hit up Fiverr. I mean,
exactly. There's
man.
Tons of people doing it on Fiverr. Exactly.
Don't try to I make it Notepad because I'm a mentalist. No, that's because you're terrible.
There you go. Exactly. Here you go. Here's the man Danny Thompson with his knowledge on this. Look, the average writing statistic spends 6 seconds deciding if they're going to invest more time reading, and this is true. This is true.
It'll be a pass.
That's it. If it's too big, if it's in Notepad, if it looks bad, we tend not to at Coder Foundry, we don't put a lot of weight on the resume because we put more weight on the projects, right? And on the you ideally want them. Your resume's just for the gatekeepers. That's all it is. But unfortunately, it's a necessary evil. So you have to make something that's going to look good. That's going to get past the gatekeepers.
All right, cool. Well, let's get some more questions here. I'm sure you got something. If you've got something super important, just super chat us up, and Kevin will get to it because there's a ton of these in here. So it's going by pretty quick.
Yep. Let me see here. Let's see. Let's start with Sean here. Sean says, I don't think anyone else in my bootcamp, including the other courses, not just my C# course, has a portfolio website. I bet 90% plus don't have a LinkedIn account either.
You're right.
And when you know these things, they seem like, well, why don't they have a LinkedIn? Everybody has a LinkedIn, right? They don't.
My point is, and I don't want to talk about any boot camps because we run a boot camp, so I don't want to seem super biased here. But if you're looking at a boot camp that's not Coder Foundry, let me give you one word of advice. And I'm not saying come to ours, but please, if you pick someone to teach you something, make sure that A, you're going to walk out with a portfolio, and B, you're going to walk out with projects on that portfolio. So I'm off the camera here, Kevin. So A and B or 1 and 2. You need to have those kind of things. That should be a requirement. That's how you interview boot camps. If you don't have that, and it doesn't matter what you learn if you're trying to break in, because you won't be able to convince anybody that you know what you're doing. So it's really difficult. And that includes CS degrees. That's the problem with CS guys. They get out and they don't have anything real world to show what they did. So you need, and that means if you're a back end guy or you're a desktop guy, guess what you're also going to have to learn how to do? Put together a portfolio website. Right. You're just going to have to. I don't know. One guy said, I'm a Windows guy. How do I build a website? Do they expect me to build a website? That's not what I'm doing. I'm like, but you need to be able to show it, man. So, I don't know what to tell you, so learn an HTML course, that's
right. You certainly have the aptitude to be able to do that.
It's not like you can't do it. You just won't do it. So, anyway, that's a good point, Sean. Hopefully, everyone's going to build portfolios. And if you go to bootcamp and you didn't get that right now, well, don't go complain to the bootcamp on Twitter or whatever. Just go to learn.coderfoundry.com. You can build your portfolio in the first week here. So,
right.
You can knock it out.
Here you go. Let's help someone out here. Let's help Reggie out. So, Reggie's got a portfolio site, LinkedIn project, still can't get an interview.
Okay. Reggie, are you working with a recruiter? Or are you doing it on your own?
That's one thing.
That's one thing that you can do. And let's look at those projects and the portfolio. And we haven't looked at it, Reggie. We have no idea. So we're going to ask hard questions. Okay. So don't get mad at me. Objectively, does my portfolio site look great? I don't know. And if you don't know, give it to someone and say, hey, does this look good? Find someone that will tell you the freaking truth.
Don't give it to your spouse or your family member, because they're going to be like, oh, that's great, Jimmy. Well done.
Grandma's going to go, that's awesome, Reggie. You're great. It's like, so, because, the worst place to ask is probably your mom. Your mom probably won't tell you the truth. And then those projects, if you're interviewing for web dev jobs, are those projects sufficiently complex enough for you to get an interview? That's the thing. So one of the people that I sent to a place to interview, I'm just going to tell you the truth of what I went through, and this was this morning. So just tell you how real it is. I sent a bunch of people out for interviews for a job that I'm recruiting for, and one of them got a rejection back. And then when I went back and looked at the portfolio was good, but the projects on it weren't complex enough. And they said, I need someone more senior, was the feedback. And it's like, And then when you get that feedback and you really look into it, you're like, yeah, he's kind of right. It didn't put the best foot forward for the candidate. And so I went back to the candidate and said, here's what we need to do. We need to like, boom, boom, boom. I gave him a list of things that he needed to do on his portfolio to get better results. And hopefully that, Reggie, I would say this, if you have projects and a portfolio and a LinkedIn and it's not working, you're either not working with a recruiter or there's something in one of those three that's giving you soft nose. Because if you know how to code, you're going to be employed in this market right now. So anyway, I hope that helps.
I would also say, Reggie, if you're not on the Discord, join the Discord and post. There's a portfolio channel in there. Go post your portfolio in there. People will give you feedback there.
We'll look at it. We'll look at it.
You'll get honest feedback. I will at least take a look at it, and there's a lot of other people in there, so they'll take a look at it too, and you'll get honest feedback. Don't be afraid of honest feedback either. It might not be what you want to hear, but ultimately it is what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Because you need somebody to tell you the truth about it.
Yeah.
So, but cool. Oh, one quick thing here. Look, we're gonna have Danny back on because Ram says. So, Danny, what you're welcome anytime. Funny.
The Three Legends. That sounds like a kung fu movie, man.
Right?
The Three Legends of the tech industry.
That's funny. Here you go. Ram has a question too. Let's do his question as well. So if I reach out to recruits on LinkedIn regarding the position they are hiring, will it make me look desperate for a job or is it normal?
So it depends on how you reach out. So like Ram, if you reach out and go, hey, for the love of God, give me a shot. I'm just desperate. My family's broke. Yeah. I haven't eaten in 3 days. Can you please hire me? That's desperate. But like if you approach them from the professional angle and say, hey, my name's Ram. I've got a portfolio and a list of projects here. I was looking at the thing you're hiring for, and I really think that I'm a match for all the qualifications. On top of that, I've got great interpersonal skills and written skills. So if you push me to an interview, I'll win it.
There you go.
So that's what I do. And I can tell you, that's the Bobby Davis thing that I did while contracting for 5 years. I had that thing on repeat. And it says, if you put me in there, I'll win it. If you want someone to get in there, I'll do it. But if you don't, just keep on trying with the other people. I'll find the next recruiter. I'm going to win it there.
There you go.
So I know it sounds cocky, but like you can be very kind of confident in telling you what you can do.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And the only way to win though is to work with recruiters. That's the only way. They've got 80% of the job. I'm interviewing for 2 jobs right now that I know that is only recruiting only, and it's not listed.
Right. So, yeah, exactly. It's the only recruiters. It's nowhere else.
It's the hidden job market. It's the only way to win. So you got to figure out how to make friends with 3 to 4 recruiters when you're starting out, and eventually, as you build up a career, you'll have 1 or 2 that you really go to a lot. Hope that helps, Ram. But yeah, reach out to them. It's not desperate, man.
No. Definitely not.
No one's gonna knock your door down. You got to go get it.
Recruiters expect it on LinkedIn too. It's why they're there.
Yeah.
If you can come to them, it kind of make it a little bit easier. Rather than them finding you. Okay. Felipe wants to know: should I study data structures and algorithms even if I choose front end stack?
Are they asking you those questions? I would be good at front end. So I'm assuming HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and some kind of front end tooling like React or Angular is kind of what I think of when I think of front stack.
I would say the interview process is broken if you're going for a front-end sort of more design-based job and they're asking you algorithm questions.
Yeah, data structures, so like, you may see them.
I was going to say not that it wouldn't, but...
Yeah, but I would say that your portfolio can overcome those things, but you can just study them. I'm not saying don't study. If you want to learn about arrays, you should know about arrays. You're going to know those anyway. Different data structures. The different algorithm questions can get kind of difficult. But if you solve 10 or 12 of those from LeetCode or dailycodingproblem.com and stick them as apps on your front-end portfolio, that's what we do. We take coding challenges and turn them into apps and solve them. So.
Okay. Here's another one then. Retro Rob, have been getting a lot of rejection emails without even getting an interview. How do I find out why I can't get an interview with them since most of the responses are automated?
Okay, if they're automated, there's something wrong with your resume that you're submitting. Okay, so you got to play that keyword game.
Yeah, make sure that the jobs you're applying for are a match for what you're qualified for
Yeah,
too. That's another
right.
thing. Don't apply for a senior
Second,
job because you're just not going to
your
get it.
your entire process, retro Rob, is passive. It sounds like you got a message directly. That's on my number 5 or number 6. A key today is like you got to reach out to recruiters directly. Talk to a recruiter. Get them to tell you kind of what do you need to see from me in order to get a job. That kind of stuff. Um, make sure that portfolio is on point. Make sure the resume is well formatted, easy to read. You should have a definitive skill section on that resume that has the keywords in it. There's these systems that scan these things, and then when they scan them and they don't see what they're looking for, they send the email back out that says, "Nope, you're not a fit."
Which is
I
why
would
you
say
do have
direct,
to be a fit for it to. You do
direct.
have to match up. Yeah.
Yeah. Work with multiple recruiters. If you're not working with a recruiter, find one. They'll talk to you. They need to talk to people every week, and then make sure your portfolio is on point and projects are on point in there.
Here's a more technical question from Troy. We'll throw this one in there. Migrating projects to .NET Core, do we create models to match the current database tables or recreate the tables with migrations?
I would bet you if I was converting a project already and I was moving it to .NET Core, I'm going to be database first at that point because I already got it. I kind of know what the models are going to be. I wouldn't recreate the tables with migrations because it may change the data model for some reason. Unless, so I think it sounds like the database is probably good. So I would just go database first in that point. That's probably the approach I would take.
There you go.
Depending on how complex it was.
Ram also wants to know if we're going to do LinkedIn profile resume review in the future. Let's get a review from you guys. Yeah, we should do that at some point again.
We'll do it.
We've done portfolio ones, which we kind of like doing as well. Yeah, maybe we can take a whole package at some point and take somebody's whole thing. Maybe we'll do a resume, LinkedIn portfolio review of a couple people. That'd be kind of good. Yeah.
We think portfolio is more important than those two above, but LinkedIn is more important than resume. So if I had to list them in order, probably LinkedIn is your first touch point. Second, portfolio should be prevalent on your LinkedIn site. Third is your resume if you're trying to break in. Your resume may win it if you're 5 years in or 6 years in and you've got like 4 or 5 jobs that you've been working on. You've done a lot of great things. But if you haven't done anything, LinkedIn profile with a prominent portfolio is what's going to move the needle for you. You working at Cookout, which is awesome, isn't going to move the needle at a front end dev job.
Right.
And if you don't know what Cookout is, you're just not from North Carolina.
I've still never been.
I can't believe you haven't had the gloriness of a Cookout tray. I mean, it's just like
I haven't.
And so, if you're from North Carolina, you know exactly what I'm talking about, man.
See, the problem is I might like it, and then that's just going to be a problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to want to eat more of it, and it's not healthy. So
you'll be getting the Cookout style burger, man. That's what you'll be getting.
Let's see here. Jen says they've had one interview so far and bombed hard on the technical questions. A whole bunch, I'm not sure, and I haven't looked into that yet. So a very humbling experience. And then says froze when thinking of the word relational regarding database questions. The only design pattern I can think of was Singleton. That one.
So Jen, the reason I know that's painful, and the reason I laugh is sometimes we got to go back and laugh at our failures. But right now, while you're thinking about it, write down every question that you can remember from that interview and take a book for the next one, and try to understand and do more study on those questions that you got. So that's the only thing I can tell you is that there's a lot of study involved a lot of times to pass those, and don't let this experience keep you from interviewing in the future.
Right.
But I like the fact that you stayed on a product on a question and really tried to move it forward. If you got stuff to demo, you can avoid code trivia by forcing the demo in the interview. I would think of it as a card trick where the guy always forces the ace to the top. That's what you're trying to do, man. Like where somehow they always have the 4 aces at the top, no matter what they do.
Yeah, that's it. Yours is your
cut it any way you want. You can ask me anything you want. We're going to talk about the bug tracker, baby. That's what we're here to do.
Right.
That's what this interview is about, because that's the only chance I have. So, good luck, and write down all those questions right now while you're thinking about. See if you can remember those.
Okay, I like this question from Tristan here. Tristan says, "Can I put this in my portfolio? Looking for my first job or looking for a place to grow?"
No.
I wouldn't. Also, remove anything that says junior developer or aspiring web developer.
No. Aspiring is worse than junior.
It is. Well, it is just like, yeah, it's like I haven't even like gotten to the part where I can do anything yet. I just aspire to be a web developer. But I've seen it. I've seen it on LinkedIn. I see aspiring web developer. I'm like, man, okay.
From Codefounder people, like, and I call them like, take it off, man, quit it. You're just killing yourself, man. You're killing me. Quit it doing that. You know?
You've got to own it. It's kind of like it's like that old thing that people say. It's like wear the clothes for the job you want, not the one you have, right? It's like showing up in the business suit, whatever. It's the same kind of thing. It's like you've got to kind of own the job that you want. You've got to kind of own it. You've got to say that you can do it. You are it. You are a web developer.
Yeah, I read a LinkedIn post this morning where the guy literally said these words: "I'm not really qualified as a web dev right now, but I'm looking for a place where I can grow." And it's just like exactly what you wrote in there. Says that what you're saying is, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Just give me a shot. No, no one's going to do that, man. The level that you need to have as a junior dev is you need to be able to build projects at this point. You're not going to get a junior dev job and then we're going to teach you what the head tag is in an HTML page. That's just not going to happen. It's not an educational place. And just know that you've got to be real with what the minimum requirements are, which I think is building projects. Now for web development jobs, now for HTML jobs where you're like automating or sending landing pages, you got to know HTML at least. So you can't break in with knowing nothing. So, but don't tell them you know nothing either. Build a lot of projects, show what you can do, and let them decide where you fit.
Yep, you got to own it. You got to own it.
This is about you, not about the hiring process. This is all about what they're looking for, and just match that, and then you'll get a job.
Let's talk about Tristan's other question too, because he had another question as well, and I like this one as well. Do HR search you in Google or social media like Twitter? Yeah. Oh, yes.
They're probably going to look at your vaccination records too.
Probably is soon, yeah. Well, this is true. I mean, we have seen it.
I say that
no
in
joke.
Jest,
We've
but
seen
it's like,
it.
it's kind of scary. I mean, like,
no joke. We've seen it. There are definitely. So we have local companies here who are mandating it. So it is a thing. So that is a thing that yes, there's all kinds of stuff they're going to look at, and yes, they will 100% look at your social media activity. No question. It is just a run-of-the-mill checkbox for them these days.
Right.
And everybody's doing it. So yes.
Right.
You can
clean it up.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Clean it up.
Clean it up.
And when we say clean it up, we're not talking about just like remove the obvious. Sometimes it's removing the things that aren't necessarily obvious. Like if you badmouth your last employer, you may think that's okay, right? It's not going to be okay. It's a big red flag.
It's a huge red flag. If
you, I don't know, went out on the weekend and got trashed on the weekend and those pictures are on there, get rid of those.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things that aren't super obvious that are just going to be very subtle that will, that they're looking for.
Yeah, I think it was what Michael Phelps had a face on like cereal boxes and everything. And then Twitter came out where he's at a bowling party, like bowling and stuff, and he lost everything. Yeah. So like, and I know that's famous, and you're like, oh, they don't care what I do. They'll look at it and say it's a problem.
Yeah, they do.
So.
Yep. Let's see here. Oh, here's a good one. Actually, a little bit out of order, but I like this. I like this question. Jen's question here. One hiring person actually looked at my profile. I guess this is on LinkedIn. I wasn't sure what to do. Should I contact him?
Yes.
Yes, you should.
Yes. Type him up. You need to instant message them right now, Jen.
Yeah. What are you here watching this for?
Just quit watching the show and instant message him.
Yeah.
Go. Just reach out and say, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. I would love to work there. It's awesome. Yep. You're awesome.
That's it. Okay. Well, here's a good question too. Ibrahim, says, I signed a contract but received another better offer the same day. What do I do?
It's up to you, but you need to know what the contract states.
When you say contract, depends on what the terms of that contract are.
Yeah, I can give you advice based in the U.S. It's on the same day. Take the better offer if you like it better.
Yeah,
and, but like
you can't enforce a contract signed the same day. That's
well, no, it's just they can't enforce a hiring contract anyway. I mean, it's just
right. Well, in the US, it depends on where you are in the world.
Yeah. But if you're somewhere in the world, maybe they can enforce that or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, I always said in my book, take the first offer and move with it. But if it was in the same 4-hour period, I mean, you can rescind an offer.
Yeah.
In America, man, you can work there for 5 days and quit and go take the other offer anyway. So it doesn't really matter.
Because trust me, like whatever this contract is it a one-way contract? Are you guaranteed employment for the term of the contract? No, of course you're not.
You're not.
I guarantee you're not. Like if
they're not going to pay you anyway. So
there's a million outs in that contract. So use one of them.
Yeah. So it's but is it bad form? It kind of is bad form, but
you might be burning a bridge.
Day, Ibrahim, this is about you and your family. And you got to decide what you want to do. So if you're going to burn a bunch of bridges with a company, maybe if you do that, or if you burn a bridge with a recruiter, you might do that. So just think about the longer term.
Yep. You are likely to do that. There's no real good way of doing that. I mean, there's really not. I mean, you could, but other than being honest, you can be honest. You can just say, "Hey, I know I agreed to this like a few hours ago, but now I have this other deal, and I'm going to take this one. I really apologize."
Now,
that's the best you can
what I would do, Abraham, is don't take a counter from the first. Don't try to like counter the other one. Like,
no, that's going to be bad.
Yeah, just say that I had another offer the same day.
Yeah, you're going to burn 2 bridges if you start countering.
Yeah.
Especially,
and you end up with nothing.
You would have been better had you not accepted it, obviously, because then you could have you could have done something. But don't accept it and then counter. They're just it's gonna be bad.
All right, good luck. Hope that helps.
Yeah.
At least you got 2 offers, man. That's awesome.
That is awesome. Yeah, congrats on both offers, by the way, too. That's amazing. I love that you get to pick. That's a great situation to be in. What a great problem to have, right?
Yeah.
Praveen, how to handle imposter syndrome?
I think you've got to definitely build out projects and build your confidence by the stuff that you build. That's what I do. The second thing is try really hard not to compare yourself to others and just look internally at you and try to decide what you can do and what you can offer companies. And it's not about the other people around you that may be better. So many times on Twitter, we're comparing ourselves to, someone like the Scott Hanselmans of the world that are running the .NET program for Microsoft. And we're like, I can never be that guy. And it's like, well, neither can I, but like, it doesn't mean that I'm going to quit running Coder Foundry either. It's so good,
Right.
And so a lot of times we look at the top end of the industry or people and say, I can never get to that level. So they don't do anything. And in coding, I mean, if you're reasonably decent at coding in the US, it looks like $100K and a 401k. And that's not bad. I mean, you may not run Microsoft, but who cares? I mean, you have 4 weeks vacation and, it's nice. So just know that handle your own journey and just try not to compare yourself to others, which then turns around and restricts what you'll do because you feel like you're not as good as other people. And even if you're not, all you need to do is get a job and go out there and make a living. It doesn't matter if you're the best, absolute best in the industry. I don't know. I hope that helps.
I'm going to go out of order a little bit, and I don't know the answer to this question, but I'm going to put this up here anyway. So Max says, could you guys just an affordable bootcamp to learn C# in both Derby, UK, which, by the way, come on you Rams, and North Carolina? Well, I mean, I'm not going to...
I promise you this is not a plant question, Kevin.
It's totally not. I don't know who this person is.
I have no idea who this person is.
Which, by the way, I don't know, but Derby's totally my part of the world, by the way. I'm from, right near there. So
it looks like my mom posted a question, trying to help me out.
I don't think this is my mom. And that's that question. That's pretty funny.
So, but really, we teach C#. We think we're the best C# bootcamp in the world. I mean, but check us out at learn.co-to-foundry, and if we can service you, we'd love to.
Yep. That's it. But not a
we're
blank
the
question,
few that teach C#. Most of the boot camps in the U.S. do not teach C#. Period. So they're teaching React and other things. So we teach C#. So yeah.
Anyway, thank you for the
so we kindly suggest Coder Foundry.
That was not a plan, I promise.
It's not a plan.
That's funny though. Okay, let's do this one here. Troll Bobman says, should I apply for a junior developer position if one of the requirements is a CS degree?
Yep.
You're never going to fit all the requirements on these jobs. If you look at them, we talked about this a lot, but they're like the requirements are often written by somebody in HR on their cookie cutter, and they're a dream wish list of a million things. They want 15 years of .NET 6 experience, and it's like, and it's a dream list of things, and half of these things they don't really want, they don't really need.
Yep. See, people get here. I'm going to defend HR a little bit on this one because a lot of people say 15 years of .NET 6 experience. It's just badly worded. What they really mean is
15 years of experience.
With .NET.
Yeah.
But I also want .NET 6. I mean, and also too, man, just because HR doesn't know that .NET 6 won't come out for 2 more months doesn't.
That's kind of the point. They really don't care, do they? They just they're cookie cutter. Like they don't know.
That's the last job rec I wrote, so I'm just going to use the same one.
Exactly.
Yep. So just apply. I mean, just apply to it. If you can meet most of the requirements, apply to it.
That's it. I just got a message from Kelly telling me I need to try Twix milkshake.
Yeah, I like it.
Is that a cookout? Is that a cookout milkshake?
That's a cookout milkshake.
Apparently, I'm missing something here.
I'm telling you, man.
I always joke about the cookout billboards because if you're in North Carolina, especially in this area, I don't know if the whole state, but here especially, cookout like owns billboards, man, like everywhere. There's so many cookout billboards, and they always advertise how many milkshakes they do. And I always find it funny because I think it's like 40 or something. But I always joke as I drive past, I'm like, oh man, Cookout with their 7 billion milkshake combinations. Because it does feel that way. That's funny.
But Cookout Twix milkshake is, man, that's good stuff.
Okay. Ellie, maybe I'll try one. Maybe you convince me.
It's good.
Okay. I like this question too from Ryan. Ryan says, can I use a project from a YouTube tutorial or bootcamp in my portfolio?
Yeah. I think you can, Ryan. What I would do is what we stress in our bootcamp is there's a lot of projects that we make. We have a distinct list of projects we make. One of the things that we do is we tell each and every student they have to brand it on their own. So all of our projects are branded, and so they have to go through the effort of naming it, changing the logo out, doing those kind of things. So if you're looking at something like Yelp Camp, don't call it Yelp Camp, call it something else, and change the logo. Try to improve on the UI that may be in the tutorial, because a lot of times tutorials are more about the coding aspects and they don't really focus on the UI. Here at Coder Foundry, I think everything should look great. And so I have a really strong opinion on that I think if you build a project, put on your portfolio, build a bootcamp, it should look good. UI is part of the development experience. I mean, very rarely do I don't care what it looks like, put that button anywhere, just make sure it works. That's very rarely the case in the industry. So we do what is necessary, not what's necessarily easy. So I think you can change the look of it, change the template of it, make it look a little bit different. And then suddenly Yelp Camp turns into, Ryan's, camp repository. I don't know what you call it, something like that. But I think that's what you can do. But definitely if you're using those tutorials, change them up a little, put them on your portfolio, you built them. Try to extend them would be great, but don't make them exactly like the other one. I think that's the case.
Right.
Hope that helps, Ryan. Also, learn how to talk about them. Make sure that you could talk about them at a detailed level. So,
let's do this one. Christian back again with another great question. You're a smart cookie, Christian. I like your questions here. Can I put a blog in the portfolio of how I made the projects and why? With my images, coding it, mock-up, drawing paper, is it okay or not? It's not just okay, it's awesome.
Let me see here. Let me see if I have a mock-up in my book here. Probably do. If I don't know, this may be the wrong book, but I was going to see if I show a mock-up of some sort.
We actually
I do it all the time.
We actually think that's a great idea. Is to blog about your thing, because it's it gives kind of like it's another artifact.
You're gonna laugh at this, Kevin. I found it. This will take you back. So like, I'm gonna show the bottom of it. This is my mock-up for Loot Cave, one we did.
Okay, so, there you go. Get.
So it was kind of funny.
There you go. So yes, definitely, we actually would encourage that, not just say that it's okay. I'd say that's really good. Anyway. Okay, we're just after the hour. Let's do another one here. You're gonna like this one. Chaz Splash says, "Why don't jobs like game coding projects? I made a tic-tac-toe and a random GIF generator, or GIF, whichever way you prefer to pronounce it, in Bootcamp and have gotten low callbacks."
Yep. I agree, and the reason is because they don't like games. They're not writing games. So you need, like, and we say this a lot, tic-tac-toe is not going to cut it. It just isn't. And that doesn't mean that that's a bad project. It could be one you put on there. But tic-tac-toe is not going to cut. I don't care if you have an AI bot on the other end of it. It's not going to cut it unless and even if you're applying for gaming jobs, it's not going to cut it. So
it's definitely not.
So it just doesn't win on either. It's not a winning project. Doesn't mean you can't start with it. Doesn't mean you can't put on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it could be fantastic UI, and you can drag the X's from the other side, that kind of stuff, and you could even like, hey, pick your font for the X's and the O's, stuff like that.
Yeah. You can extend
it. Won't matter. It just won't matter. So like what you need to do is build a project that uses a database if you want to get into web development. That's what I think. And that's why we get this advice all the time, man. Like, and people, I'll probably get a bunch of hate mail from this one. And a lot of people say, I built my passion project. And I'm like, dude, don't build your passion project. And everyone said, that's the worst thing ever, because then you'll lose interest and you're not following your passion. I'm like, well, when you show up to work, they don't go, hey, Kevin, what's your passion? Build that today.
Right.
No, today we need to solve this problem.
Your passion needs to be the act of coding.
That's
your
exactly.
Passion, not coding what you're building with it. Essentially, it's your passion needs to be the act of doing it. It's like being a driver. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey to get there. Same kind of thing.
And so, without being like in a like selfless promotion, is Chaz, go look at Learn.Code for our self-paced course since you've already went to a boot camp, and look at the projects that we're building. Okay, those are the type of projects you need to build. Now, if you don't know how to do those, that's fine, and you can go to our course or someone else's course. But like, that's why it's not working. And I hate to tell you that, but you did know how to make tic-tac-toe, and I don't know what a random GIF generator. I think it's just putting the text at the bottom or something like that. Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe I don't think it's that. I think you click a button and it probably runs off to the Giphy API or something and pulls back a random GIF.
Pulls one out.
I'm guessing that's what it is. Something like that.
So, you got to aspire to do harder projects because they're going to ask you to do harder things when you get there. So here's what it is: security, great UI, database interaction, and that's what it needs to do. And then solve a business problem, which is like, that's why we recommend the bug tracker. Go watch our video on the one coding project, and we lay out all the reasons why this project works, and it still does work. And so like, I think if you make something in that mold, whether it be a bug tracker or not, you'll get a lot more callbacks. I know it's a lot of work, man. I know you went to a boot camp, but
you probably have the skills to be able to build it.
You probably do.
You're just building the wrong thing.
Just build bigger stuff and harder stuff.
Yep.
Hope that helps.
One last thing to talk about while we're talking about the course. So Wilson wants to know, I'm seriously thinking about the online course. That's cool. What's the difference, apart from the obvious? I don't know what the obvious is, but between the online and in-class course, what's missing in the online?
Just go to the homepage of that thing and we explain it really well. But in general, one has full-time teachers, multiple full-time teachers, 40 hours a week. One doesn't.
Yeah, that's pretty much what you're getting. You're building
the same projects.
It's just exactly the same content.
Yeah.
There's probably more content actually in the online course right now. There will be more in that because we're going to put more than we can only fit a certain amount of stuff in 12 weeks. So obviously we have to curate what we can fit into 12 weeks. Right. With the online course, it doesn't have to be 12 weeks. It can be as long as we want. We can keep, we can put a lot more different and varied projects in it. So there's actually going to be more online technically, so you're going to get more content. What you're getting with the virtual course is it's a 9 to 5 or 10 to 6, right? 10 to 6 Eastern. Yeah. So you're showing up daily, and there's accountability for that. There's also accountability because you get instruction that's, it's one-to-one instruction. Sometimes it can be. There's feedback on your work. You don't get feedback on the online course.
Right. That's coaching, mentoring. We have students sometimes that at the end of the cohorts will start taking days off, and we'll actually call them in a one-on-one meeting and say, listen, man, you've been here for 9 weeks. Like, you've got to finish strong. You're on the 10-yard line. Let's push it over. And let's finish it. Let's finish strong. And so we do a lot of coaching and mentoring and teaching people, what they need to do. So like, that's the big difference. So pick which one you want. If you want to learn with us, you want to learn C#, learn it either way. So I hope that helps. This has turned into a commercial for our self-paced course.
Well, somebody asked, so I'm going to answer the question.
Yeah, exactly. Especially I promise. The Mac question was a complete plant for my mom. That's what it was. Good name change there, Mom. So.
I promise we're not paying people. Money's in the mail.
I know, exactly.
We'll PayPal you later.
If you went to Darby or North Carolina and you wanted to learn C#, which bootcamp would you pick, Bobby?
I love the question.
I loved it.
Great question. Cool. Okay, so we are out of here. I'm going to the beach, so I'm not going to be here Tuesday.
Okay.
So we'll be back on next Thursday. We'll put out a video, but it won't be live next Tuesday.
Maybe I can get a guest for Tuesday. Maybe there's a guest out there that wants to appear on the show for Tuesday.
There you go. Send applications to info@codefoundry.com.
Yeah, reach out to me if you want a guest host on the show for Tuesday, and we can talk about coding. Especially if you have a course or a book or something you want to pitch, we'll talk about it.
There you go. That could work.
So hit me up on Twitter.
So maybe we'll be back Tuesday.
Maybe,
but I won't be here. I'll be chilling somewhere at the beach.
I do need a guest though, because it's hard to run the stuff and
you got nobody to talk to, and then it's like you're just talking out into the nothing.
I know.
And it's just kind of weird. It's weird to talk to yourself.
I don't want to ride solo, so someone tell me why you should be on the show next Tuesday.
There you go. info@codefoundry.com. Send it in.
Yeah.
Send your application.
We'll put a tweet out. Seriously, we'll put a tweet out, Kevin. Let's see if we can get a guest.
Okay. We'll do it.
Let's see what they can do.
We'll do it.
All right, cool.
We'll catch you guys later.
All right, man. We'll see you guys later. Good luck and keep coding. We'll see you.